Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to spend some time here in the forest pansy bed. I am going to prep this bed so that it is ready to go for spring/summer. The only thing that I will need to do is add in my warm weather annuals once the weather officially changes. The plan for today is to trim back any perennials that need to be trimmed back. We are going to go ahead and fertilize this bed. It may be a little on the early side, but I have time. I'm going to do it. And then we're going to go through and do a nice top dress of some compost, the land and sea compost. I thought this would be really fun to bring you along for the ride because this is a really great teaching moment. Maybe you have been gardening for 40 years and you have got it down pat. Maybe this will just be a little refresher course for you. Hopefully I will have one little nugget in there that you can learn from and glean from. But maybe you are a brand new gardener, or you're in year 2 or year 3, and you're not quite sure what you should be doing in your garden right now. This is why I do these videos, is so that I can show you what I'm doing in my garden so that you can take that information and apply it to your garden. Because I figured if I have to do it and I'm going through it in my garden, odds are somebody else is going through that same situation. We are North Carolina, a Zone 8A. It is the beginning of March, and I fully recognize that the South, of course, is a little bit ahead of everybody else, but there are gardeners who are ahead of me. So if you haven't done this, go ahead and do this. If you are in those colder zones and you're like, Jenny, there's no way I can get my garden right now, that's okay. Save this video and then come back to it once you are leaving winter and going into spring. Forget about the calendar. Forget what the calendar says, whether it's officially winter or if it's officially, spring. That does not matter. Listen to your garden. Go out there, take garden walks. Your garden will tell you when it is transitioning from winter into spring and really any kind of season. So we're going to go through really quickly and just give you a big overview, and then I will take you along for the journey. This flower bed, if you have been with us for any length of time, you probably are very familiar with this bed. But if you are new, then this flower bed, we call it the forest pansy bed because it has a forest pansy red bud in it. It is not showing, well, just barely, I would say, showing some signs of some buds coming out. But red buds, of course, are known for their gorgeous, really vibrant, hot fuchsia flowers in early spring. It will be spectacular, and then it will leaf out. Right now, this bed appears that it is a full sun. Once the tree leaves out, it will be very shady. The edges around the pathway will be full sun. So this path, this side of the path gets morning sun, and then it is in the shade in the afternoon. All the way over on the other end, it is full sun from sun up to sundown. As you work your way closer to the house, once the tree is leafed out, it is deep, deep shade. So I have a little bit of everything in this flower bed. You will notice as we go through that you will see irrigation lines. We have it on drip irrigation. It's not a snake. It is just the brown drip tubing. Now, let me show you what we're going to do in here. And we have flowers. Yes, you can have flowers in February and March in North Carolina. This is a really fun little bulb blend that I got from Color Blends last year. This is called the Woodland Mix. It is a great mixture of perennial bulbs that are meant to go under deciduous trees, and it will have a bloom time of like 6 to 8 weeks. So there's daffodils, there's crocus, there's wood hyacinths, there's all sorts of things in there. So you will see those dotted throughout the flower bed. We're gonna leave those alone. We have my pitcher plants, right? So these are a perennial. This is, I've got bug bat and conversation piece. So we've got one set here and one set over there. What we'll do is we're going to go ahead and trim these back because you can see my my old plants, my old foliage, right? It has winter damage. So what we're going to do is come in here and clean this up, because underneath, way down in there, you may see some fresh foliage coming out. So we want to go ahead and clean this up. While I'm here, I'm going to clean this area up. If you've been with us for any length of time, you may know that our sweet Alyssa, who is a member of our Creekside family, she is getting married end of May. The ceremony is going to be at the signature garden, and the reception is going to be back there. So end of May. I am taking the opportunity while I have time to get everything done that I can, because I know that really once true spring hits, it's going to be crazy around here. The wedding is right there at the end of May, and I want to make sure that I can get everything done that I want to have done so it is in prime condition for the wedding. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and do some things now. We are also going to go ahead and trim back the autumn ferns. So this is Brilliance Autumn Fern here in the back. It is a shade perennial. It is an evergreen fern. A lot of people will always ask what this is whenever I'm in this flower bed. Brilliance is great because it gets nice and tall and it's just stunning, and it's an evergreen. Now, you can see right now we're in that transition period where my autumn ferns are starting to lay down. I don't really have any new growth. I was in here digging. I don't see any new fronds in there right now. But because I am in this bed, I am going to go ahead and shear them back. So what you want to do is you can wait until the new fronds start to come up, and then you're going to come in and clean this up. But I am in this bed, I'm going to fertilize, I'm putting down fresh compost. I'm just going to go ahead and cut these back. Also, I have Florida Sunshines back here. This is an anise, an Elysium. Right now is when they really look their worst because the days are getting longer. The sun is getting a little bit stronger as we transition, but the tree is not leafed out. So these get way more sun than they really should. They're starting to get a little pale. They're starting to get a little, some brown spots on them, like some sunburn. Do not worry. If yours are doing this, it's okay, because what's going to happen is as soon as this tree leaves out, it is going to be back in deep, deep shade. The plants will recover and be just fine. That's why we're going to go ahead and throw down some fertilizer, so when they start growing and putting on new growth, they will have the food that they need. Plants that are flowering, of course, are the Lenten roses, the hellebores. My gosh, y'all, they are some happy plants. I adore hellebores. If you've been with me for any length of time here recently, you know how much I love them because of those beautiful flowers. You were with me when we went ahead and pruned them. I will try to link that video for you. So if you have hellebores, Lenten roses, and you want to know how to prune them, I have a video. We were in this exact bed doing that. And so yeah, lots of fun. I was having a customer, we were talking, and they were saying they loved them, but they really don't like the fact that they're downturned, that the flowers are downturned. So I was reading, and they do that to protect the pollen that is in there. So because we just got tons of rain yesterday, we're getting more rain tomorrow, they're downturned, so the water will just shed right off of it. So that's just kind of how the plant protects itself a little bit. And then we have this massive beauty right here. We're also going to come in. My pulmonaria is blooming. Look at this. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my goodness, I get so excited. So this is Pinkaboo, and Pinkaboo pulmonaria, beautiful shade perennial. I know you're seeing it's full sun, but remember, my tree's not leafed out yet. And so the flowers start pink and then they turn blue. Need to come in here and clean up some foliage. My Ascot Rainbow Euphorbia, we're going to prune that back as well. So what we'll do is I'm just going to come in here and I am going to shear it back. So you can see where we have all this foliage from last year, right? So we have all of this, but look down here at the crown. We've got beautiful new foliage coming in. So what I'm going to do is take my Felcos and I'm going to come in and I'm going to clip it as low as I possibly can go. I'm going to leave the fresh new foliage, but all of this stuff right here, I'm going to take out. So I have 3 of these in here. So we're going to do that to all 3. My panicle hydrangeas, I've got multiples in here. I have got the little Quickfire, she is in here. And then I have my, was it Tiny Quickfire? I think it is. It's brand new, so we have Tiny Quickfire, and I've got 3 of those in here as well. Those have all been pruned. So I'm don't need to do anything with that. And then I do have 2 macrophylla hydrangeas, the Let's Dance Blue Jangles. They bloom on old growth, so I am not going to trim that. Now, February, March, that transition between winter into spring is a really busy time in the garden because you could be doing a lot of pruning. Now, you want to prune plants that bloom on new growth or they have already finished their bloom cycle. When in doubt, consult Professor Google. So for example, I have an Edgeworthia right here. You go to Professor Google. When is the best time to prune Edgeworthia? When is the best time to prune hellebore? When is the best time to prune butterfly bushes, right? So when in doubt, consult the, if you can't go to your local garden center, go ahead and consult the next best thing, which is Professor Google. Look at reputable sources and you will find when to prune it. Because pruning is very important, but you want to do it at the right time. If you do it at the wrong time, it's okay. It'll be fine. You may lose some blooms for a season, but in the end, it's okay. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead, I think, and just set the camera up. And what I'm going to do, I got some birds singing. Oh my gosh, I love it, y'all. Can you hear them? So we have Carolina chickadees, and I got this feeder we have recently a new bird store. It's a Wild Birds Unlimited, and I got some feeders with some great suet cakes in it. Oh my gosh, love it. And if you have a problem with squirrels or raccoons, Wild Birds Unlimited, they have hot cakes. So it is great bird food, but it's loaded with cayenne pepper, so your squirrels and your raccoons don't eat it. I love it. So anyway, I digress. What I'm going to do, set the camera up, and I'm just going to go through and prune first. I'm going to prune those plants that I told you about, my pitcher plants, my ferns, my ascot rainbow. So I'm going to get that out, prune those back. If there's weeds, I'm going to get the weeds out, and then next thing we would do is move on to fertilizer. So I'm going to talk about how you fertilize, why you need to fertilize, and what are some good options for you to use in your garden. So this is going to be a fun morning in the garden, so let's get started. Okay, my friends, so the longest part of the project has been completed. The bed is nice and clean and neat and tidy. If I left it just like this, it would look a million times better than when I started. But we're going to take it to the next level. Let me show you, just walk through right quick what I did, because there's some important ones that I want to share with you. I did go through and with my hand rake go ahead and pull out leaves that were clustered around, like for example, underneath my arborvitae fern right here, there was a bunch of them tucked up under there. Pull them out, that way I can get the compost in there around them. You will see that the pitcher plants, Sarcocoa, no, that's not Sarcocoa. I'll have to look, oh shoot. Anyway, I'll put it up there. That's the wrong plant. They got all pruned, and so any kind of foliage that you see up there is new growth. So I'm gonna leave those. You don't have to be super precise because you saw how absolutely thick it was beforehand. Like this is, you can clearly see this 3 clumps right here, but this is all like you've got new baby growth coming in here. And they will quickly grow and just be nice and big and happy again. Now, the fun thing is about the pitcher plants, of course, is that they're carnivorous. So what happens is, as you can see that hood right there, so the plant secretes this this liquid that has attracts bees, pollinators, wasps, flies, gnats, you name it, insects, right? So they go in there to get a food source, and then they get trapped, and basically they drown and die. And then the plant breaks down the insect and then absorbs that food. So if you can see inside the where the cuts, they're black. Yeah, that's the remnants of dead critters. So somebody said one time, they're like, "Oh no, are you afraid they're going to eat all the pollinators?" Y'all, they're not that aggressive. It's okay. So it's more like little bugs, it is all nature. And so it is all part of the cycle of life. So it's a fun little plant right there. So that is all cleaned up. You will see, of course, that the ferns look like they're completely gone. Just cut them straight down to the ground, y'all. Do not overthink this. So with that fern, I did not have any fronds coming up, so I could easily get in there and just whack them, right? All the way back, basically down to the ground, because no new growth is gonna come from those old stems. Basically right here, if we can get in here really close, we'll see if the camera will do it. But if you can see these black little humps right here, those are your new fronds. So that is where the new growth is going to come out of. There's some right here. So this was a great time to go ahead and cut them. This is the earliest that I have ever cut them, but it makes it nice and easy. It'll make it easier to get in here. I had tons of leaves in here, got those cleaned up, and you can see I only have 3 clumps, but they make such a big presence. I also have in here lots of Japanese anemones, and I do not want them in here. They spread by rhizomes, and they just are a pain in this bed. I planted them without realizing what I was doing several years ago. So these little green clumps, you may have seen me yanking some stuff out. That is what I was pulling out. The Ascot rainbows, all nice, trimmed up. They're good to go. My peonies, I have 2 peonies right here, and they are showing signs of life. If you can see this little red sprig right here. So yep, this is a Sarah Bernhardt, and I don't remember what the next one is. It is showing signs of life even a little bit more than Sarah Bernhardt. So right here, all that new growth, yes. So I've had these here for several years. The pink diamonds, we planted this, did an experiment last year. It was not a very successful experiment, but at least this one is still alive. Probably will move it out because between the white chiffon, Rose of Sharon, the hydrangea, all of this, that pot got completely swallowed up. So I will probably move that later on. All right, now let's tippy toe back out of the flower bed really quick so I can show you some other things that I did. This bed is full of perennials, even ones that you can't see because they're dormant. It is full. So this is jukebox. These are, I have 2 of them. There was another one behind the unique stone planter. It was desperately sad and pathetic, so I just pulled it like literally with my hand and just pulled it straight out of the ground. Nice low growing, wide spreading habit on jukebox, evergreen shrub. All I did was go ahead and pruned it all the way around. Just grabs handfuls of it, cut it back so that way it gets nice and thick. It's already starting to put on some new growth, so that worked out really well. Just got, again, all the leaves that were piled up into there, got those out. To prove to you that I practice what I preach to you, I have a Sugar Shack button bush right over here in front of the Edgeworthia. And for some reason I had gotten it in my brain that Sugar Shack blooms on old growth. And then I didn't need to prune it because last year was the first year that it bloomed. And so I was thinking, okay, it blooms on old growth, so I can't prune it. And then I was like, but does it? So went to Professor Google, and guess what? It blooms on new growth. So yay! What did Jenny do? Jenny went ahead and shaped it up. Of course, it is completely dormant right now. It looks like a hydrangea. It is not. It is Sugar Shack. It is a button bush. It loves wet areas, and so really fun little white flowers on it. It kind of, I don't know, they're not quite what you think of as a flower, but they're really fun. So there you go. And then Edgeworthia, I probably will shape up my Edgeworthia just a little bit because I've got that limb right here that's a little wild. Wait till after it blooms. So I'm going to wait till after it blooms and then just trim it back just a little bit and see how it does. Now, what we're going to do now is we are going to fertilize. Why are we going to fertilize now? It is basically 1st of March. Why are we doing it now? It is slightly on the early side to do this. You have a window. Really, you can do it just about any time. We're on the early side of it. Again, I have time. I'm here. I'm doing it. It will be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to use plant tone and rose tone. Both of these are organic, slow release fertilizers. That is how I feel confident in using those fertilizers in this bed this time of year. It is slow release. It is not going to burn my plants when the plants and the temperatures and the weather is more cooperative and more, not cooperative, when it's more conducive. That fertilizer will start to release. The plants will start soaking up the food. So it's okay that I can go ahead and put it out now. So the reason that we go ahead and fertilize now is because I compare it, I tell people it's like a bear hibernating, right? So the bear is sleeping all winter. Plants essentially sleeping all winter. Bear wakes up, it's hungry, and it's going to go out and find food so it can get nice and fat and happy and live its best life in the spring, summer, fall. Kind of the same thing with your plants. They wake up from dormancy, they're hungry, they're going to grow, they're going into their active growing season. So we want to have food available for them. Now, how often do I do this? How often do I fertilize my trees, my shrubs, my perennials? That's right, one time a year. This is it. It's once and done. That is the beautiful thing about perennials, trees, and shrubs. They're not historically very heavy feeders. So if you feed them once a year, that is amazing. Now, if life happens and it's crazy and you don't get to fertilize one year, guess what? It's okay. It is fine. The plants are tough. These plants are tough. However, I got a lot of things coming up this season that are going to be high profile. We've got the wedding coming up in May, and then at the end of June, we have the signature experience here at Creekside Nursery. I'm going to have all sorts of people walking all in my gardens. I want them to look the best that they possibly can for the wedding and the signature experience. So that is why I am making a very concerted effort to get things trimmed and fertilized and pruned and composted. So that's what we're going to do. Now, back here in Johnny, I have got all of my debris, but I also have my plant tone and my rose tone. Now, if you're only going to buy one slow release fertilizer in the season, I recommend plant tone. Plant tone is like the Swiss Army knife of fertilizer. It is good, as you can see on that picture. You can do it with your vegetables, you can do it with your annuals, you can do it with your perennials, flowering plants. It does not matter. This is a very, very easy fertilizer to go to use for anything that you have. So the vast majority of the bed is going to get plant tone. In fact, what I'm going to do, because this flower bed, one is full of the plants that you can see, then there are tons of perennials that are dormant in there. Then when the weather is ready for like mid-April, then I will add in my annuals. Essentially, you're not gonna be able to see any soil. There will be no free space in that flower bed. So I am going to get a cup, and I am just going to broadcast this plant tone. I am not going to go around to every single plant. I am not going to measure around every plant. I am just going to go whoosh, and we're going to sling it out and let everybody get it. Now, The only ones that I'm going to be more careful with are my hydrangeas. And for my hydrangeas, I am going to use rose tone. So rose tone obviously is great for roses. I'll go ahead and hit the Generous Gardener while I'm there because she's in this flower bed. So rose tone is wonderful for obviously roses, right? And your other woody ornamental flowering shrubs. So this is great for hydrangeas. It would be good for butterfly bushes, right? So if you've got a thick woody shrub that produces flowers, rose tone would be a good option for it. Now, do you have to use rose tone? Absolutely not. Can you use plant tone? You absolutely can. But guess what? I have both of these, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it. So what I'm gonna do is just set the camera up. This is gonna be the stinkiest part of today's project, because if you are familiar with the tones, you know that they have, I think our friend Laura says that's the smell of success. So, so it is very successful. Also, it is going to rain all day tomorrow. Perfect time. I'm going to put this down, put the compost on top of it. Tomorrow it rains. It will kind of settle it in, and it will help get rid of that nice fragrance, that odor of success. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do everybody fertilized. I'm sure I smell really good right about now after spreading all of that fertilizer. It's going to be gorgeous though. It is going to be beautiful. So it's just to kind of give you a point of reference, I used probably about 1/2 of a bag of the rose tone on the hydrangeas. Just took a red Solo cup and then just sprinkled it around, not having to worry anything about foliage because there's no foliage on the hydrangeas. Just sprinkle it around, and you want to make sure that you go out from the crown of the plant. Think about the drip line, right? The roots are going out. So we want to feed the roots, not just put that fertilizer right there in the center of the plant. So depending on how big or how small the shrub is, the smaller the shrub, the smaller the root system, the bigger the shrub, the bigger the root system, more extensive it goes out. So just kind of go around what we call the drip line, right? So where do those branches extend to? And then they go straight down. That's kind of your circle of where you're going to put your fertilizer. And then of course the plant tone, I used almost 2 bags, you know, broadcasting that out and put it down nice and, I won't say thick, but I was generous with it. Next, Land and Sea. Jerry brought me a pallet of Land and Sea. I don't think I'm using a whole pallet. I can't imagine that I am, because this bed is already has good organic material in it, because I try to do this once a year. My goal here is to do a nice top dress. So a top dress in areas that are already, that I can tell have a nice layer of compost, maybe I only put like 1.5 inches or so. There are some areas around the front, because that's where I tend to put a lot of annuals because of the sun, and so I put them closer to the pathway. I have some red soil exposed. I'm going to do it nice and thick right there. So the idea is, instead of using mulch, I'm using my compost, because this bed is so full of plants that this compost acts as my mulch, and immediately it's going to make it look a lot better. Two, it is going to suppress any of those winter weeds that are trying to come up, because they are. And then third, and probably most importantly, is that it is a really great high quality compost that as it breaks down and goes down into the soil, it is feeding my plants. It is adding organic material into my red clay soil, because that is what I need. If out in the native landscape of where I am in North Carolina, I have red clay, which is great because it holds water, but there's very little like organic material in there. These plants need that great material, and so that's what's going to help feed them and keep them happy throughout for the next year. So I am working solo, other than my little furry four-legged friend here. Unfortunately, she does not have a little cart hooked up to her or have opposable thumbs where she can help me spread the land and seed, but she's my big cheerleader, so she'll be here. I think what I'm going to do is first is, we've learned this, you know, through years of doing this, is just take the bags and just dump bags, like drop them where I think I'm going to need them, fill it all up with, you know, the bags, come back through, cut them open, dump it, and then spread it. So I've had the long job, the stinky job, and now a little bit more labor intensive of hauling some compost bags. Whoever says that gardening is not an active sport is gardening wrong. It's a lot of fun, but hey man, you get your exercise in. So let's get her done. I'm not gonna lie, this was a big project. In real time, it took me about 4.5 hours to get this one done. Woo-wee. I am ready to sit down and have a nice tall drink of water. But oh my gosh, it looks fantastic, amazing, wonderful, glorious, all the adjectives you could possibly think of. It looks like that. It just makes everything look so lovely. I'm telling you, like the mulch, the compost is basically the lipstick and the earrings of the outfit, y'all. It just accentuates all the beautiful flowers, the colors, the textures, and it's just those beautiful finishing touches on this space. It really does make the flowers pop. Those hellebores, you can really see that pulmonaria back there right now because of having all that nice, delicious compost around it. the unique stone trough with the violas and the tulips that are coming up just look great. You will notice probably that there are certain areas, certain patches that are darker than the rest of the compost. Some of those bags on the pallet were sopping wet. So those are the wet bags of compost. Who knows why? They're all shrink wrapped up there together, but they got some water on them. But everything is just looking so nice. The candy tuft, this is, I want to say Alexander's Great, there's 3 clumps in there and just beautiful. Now the one on the right, she's struggling a little bit. I probably could prune her back, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave her alone. She'll be fine. He'll be fine. And so, yeah, got that compost down, and everybody is just going to be ready for a beautiful spring and summer. Literally, the only thing that I have to do in here is plant my spring/summer annuals. I don't need to come back and fertilize again. Like, it is all done. It is all taken care of. And it feels great. It's going to rain tonight, well, tomorrow rather, and it will get rid of that very strong tone fragrance that is wafting through the air here. But yeah, very happy, very proud of myself. Got the job done. I was thinking though, man, I am glad I am doing this at the beginning of March and not the end of June or July, because sweat. And if you can get this on like your compost and your fertilizer before like your hostas pop up, before the ferns pop back up, right? Then you don't have to worry about, that's one less thing you have to worry about trying to take the compost around those plants. Around those plants where the hostas are and those, like I was talking about, those perennials, it is not super thick. I know people have asked in the past is, you know, are you sure, like, I'm afraid you're burying your plants too deep. I'm not. I know where they are, and they got just a nice top dressing because that's what they need. It does not hurt to cover the crown at this point with just a nice skim of compost, because over time, wash and wear and tear and life and wind and animals and whatever, you know, soil starts to go away. And so you want to bring that back with that nice organic material to feed those plants and cover them up. Cover up any exposed roots is really, really important. But yeah, it looks great. I'm super happy. I'm gonna go in and get some lunch. And like I said, a big old glass of water. I did not use the whole palette of Land and Sea. You can see it over there. I used more than I thought at one point, especially when I was more over in this area. I was like, dear heavens, I kept bringing 2s and 2s were not enough, but it is done. It looks great. Very happy with it. And now I can just sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor. So y'all have a great day. Thank you so much. We hope you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational. As always, we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.